If I traded it all, if I gave
Now, this next segment is going to be very, very interesting. I have Dr. Bruce Goldberg and Dr. Audit, and she's calling in from Israel. So we have two from all over the world here. They're coming in and calling on this show. Welcome to the show, Doctor.
It's a pleasure to be here, Carol.
Now, Doctor, I would like you to talk a little bit about this new discovery of the original reincarnation of Marilyn Monroe.
Well, Norma Daniel came to me, called me up and contacted me regarding that she thought she was the reincarnation of Marilyn Monroe. I do have a reputation for documenting cases. I did a case several years ago called The Search for Grace, based on a book I wrote about this case, about a documented case of reincarnation that was aired at CBS as a movie, and it was documented by the network, not by me. So I do have a reputation as a scientist and as a qualified hypnotherapist for 38 years of doing this. Well, we did several regressions, and they're televised or they're on YouTube, et cetera. And the information that Norma gave me was not only very impressive from her own personal history with similarities to Marilyn, which I'll document in a moment, but she gave a couple of facts that is not public knowledge that, again, turned out to be true, and that gives a lot of, shall we say, suggestive evidence that she is, in fact, a reincarnation of Marilyn Monroe.
Now, you're known as one of the bigger experts, most known today in the world in the field of hypnosis, for past lifetime. Now, can you share with us how did you discover Dr. Audit Norma Jeane?
Well, no, she contacted me, and
Okay.
she contacted me with the premise that she felt she was the reincarnation of Marilyn Monroe, and she wanted hypnosis to be done as a way to substantiate her claims or her feelings and her intuitions towards that. So it wasn't like I found her a needle in a haystack. Mm-hmm. She contacted me, okay? And so it doesn't matter whether a person contacts me or whether it comes out during a session, et cetera. What matters is the information that you get and the inability of that person to attain that information from any other source. See?
Okay. Now, does a medical scientific hypnosis have to have a way to bring the proof? That's how you bring the proof back?
Well, the only way, remember, this is circumstantial evidence. You're not going to be able to put the soul of Marilyn Monroe into a test tube and put it in on a court witness stand, all right? Mm-hmm. The only way you can do this is to get information. Let me qualify it just before, let's qualify it again. I mentioned the Search for Grace case. This is a very interesting case where a woman was supposedly the reincarnation of a woman who died in 1927. She was murdered. That was documented. There were 4 newspapers in Buffalo, New York that reported that. The problem was that when she gave me the information, 24 facts, 2 of the facts did not corroborate based on newspaper reports. The woman could not get information from any other source because in New York, you have to get the governor's permission or the family permission to go into the birth and death certificates. As it turns out, the 2 errors that she supposedly made, she was right, the newspaper reporters were wrong, which made this one of the most documented, if not the most documented case of the last century. So there again is circumstantial evidence. You can't prove reincarnation. You can't disprove it. All you can give is what we say in science, and I am a scientist, I've got 3 degrees in it, is suggestive evidence. And in Norma's case, the suggestive evidence overwhelms any other explanation or hypothesis or theory to explain it.
Doctor, would you recommend a website or someplace that the audience can go to see some of the information on this?
Well, sure. I mean, they can go to YouTube, of course. YouTube has several videos that Norma has posted. They're also welcome to go to my site, which is www.dr, that's D as in David, R as in Robert, and then you spell my name, BruceGoldberg.com, GOLDBERG.com, and I will give detailed information about the hypnosis process and, of course, the Grace cases on there, et cetera, so they can see the actual science behind this. And, of course, they can see the videos by going on YouTube to see Norma's case.
Dr. Audit, I know that you're on from Israel, so I want to welcome you also to the show. And Hi, and I wanted to know if you wanted to add anything at this moment about anything right now.
No, I think I will let Bruce continue talking because I have too many things to say, and right now he is important.
Okay, so Doctor, you can go on the website. It's drbrucegoldberg.com. You can also YouTube it as well. Doctor, if she was and is Marilyn, She just is another body of life, right?
Well, let's understand the concept first, okay? First, we have a soul. In theory or in therapy today, we call this a subconscious mind. It's mind, it's energy. It's not part of our physical body. It merely occupies your body just like a television signal occupies your television set or your computer, you see? It's electromagnetic radiation. That's very well documented, actually. So what happens is that when the physical body dies, crosses into spirit, and then eventually decomposes and fertilizes the proverbial lawn, with all due respect, the soul then leaves the physical body as energy. You can't destroy energy. And then eventually goes through a very complex cycle, which I describe in my 21 books on this field, and then eventually reincarnates or occupies a new fetus, eventually becoming a child and an adult human being, and that's what we call reincarnation, based upon the laws of karma and universal laws. But see, in Norma's case, let's talk about a couple of things. First, as a young child, she was exposed to a picture of Marilyn from the Red Velvet photographic session that was done in Los Angeles. She developed, you might say, an obsession with it. Many aspects of her life mimic Marilyn, not only the idea of singing and dancing, etc., but the abuse of men, the anorexia, so many characteristics. The endometriosis was similar to Marilyn's miscarriages. The scar from Norma's gallbladder surgery was similar to Marilyn's. These kinds of things are what we call circumstantial evidence. They build up and build up, but there were two incidences that were not part of public knowledge, or let's just say you would take one heck of a lot of research to find out. She described her relationship with a mafia boss, and she called him Momo. And what's interesting is Sam Giancana, everybody knows who he is from the Kennedy assassination and that era. Sam Giancana was also known as Mo in Chicago, and so that was a nickname that, again, I'm a scholar on the Kennedy assassination. I didn't know Sam Giancana was called Momo or Mo. Then she also described a party that she went to that again is not exactly known as public knowledge with the actor Hamilton. And that was something where he described her as being someone so much more intelligent that he thought she would be because she's blonde and always pictured as an idiot. And at the same time, she obviously wasn't, and he couldn't relate to her because he was not only enmeshed by or enamored by her physical presence, being the world's most famous woman, but he didn't expect her to be so brainy. Okay, so as he described it, so that's interesting. Another example of how things that occur that are not easily known or found from public information, from newspaper articles or magazine stories or TV interviews that come out after the fact and come out during a hypnotic session. So these are examples of things that we call suggestive evidence. Look, I'm also a forensic consultant. I've been a consultant to 3 different police departments. You can't use hypnosis in court, but you can use the information you get to stimulate the investigators in police departments. And if they corroborate that, then they use their investigative evidence in court. So it's a very respected technique.
The website is drbrucegoldberg.com. It's drbrucegoldberg.com. I would like you to talk a little bit about your work, the book, The Search for Grace. Can you do that for a minute? Because we don't have a lot of time.
Sure. Well, in The Search for Grace, this is a woman who came to me. She was a young, very attractive, very smart professional. She was in her early 20s dating a married man, 15 years her senior, who tried literally to murder her on 3 different occasions. She couldn't break off the relationship, very obsessed with him. As it turns out, this man, we call him Johnny, not his real name, was, in fact, not only the reincarnated as a past life lover, but literally reincarnated in 20 of her previous lives and killed her every single time. And the last life was in Buffalo, New York in 1927. She was a woman named Grace Doze. The 2 facts that she reported that did not corroborate initially with the newspaper reports, she said she was 30 years old, not looking forward to her 31st birthday when she was murdered, and the name of her son was Cliff. The newspaper said she was 32. The name of her son was Chester Jr. She was right. Reporters were wrong. And they all copied each other, which is, like a pool reporter, as we call it today. So my point is that this is a very documented case. Not only that, but my interest as a therapist, not only was it documented, made a great film starring Lisa Hartman Black and Ken Wall, and Richard Mazer played me in it, but she was able to therapeutically end the pattern, go on with the life, be empowered, and now 20-some-odd years later has a life and was no longer attracted to Johnny, broke up with him, never dealt with him again, and has a very empowered and very, shall we say, desirable life today that she may not have had over 20 years ago. She probably would have been killed for the 21st time of this guy.
Well, we have 1 minute left, so I would like to know what you'd like your final words to be here right now.
Everybody can be empowered, accessing your higher self. That's what I believe in. Think positively. Don't let the media or relatives or anybody else get you down. Always think positively and always follow universal laws. If you do that, you're going to have a win-win-win situation. You're going to run faster and jump higher, and you're going to have a much better life.
Also, can they see this in the Jewish Connection? Can they do that at their leisure too?
Well, I don't know what you mean by a Jewish connection. I mean, every religion, in a way, I know this is controversial, but there is no hypnosis as a field, and reincarnation is a component of every religion, and hypnosis is not against anyone's religion, no matter who you are.
Right.
So basically, just again, don't live in the world of fear. Society tends to get people fearful. The only way you're going to ascend and eliminate the karmic cycle and have a great future is to eliminate fear, move on with your life, don't let anybody manipulate you or brainwash you. Just do your thing, and you'll find that it works for me, it works for 16,000 of my patients, and it works for the universe.
Well, it just so happens that August 5th was the 50-year anniversary of Marilyn Monroe's death, and I know, Dr. Audit, you didn't say much. I don't know if you want to say anything just as we're leaving?
Yeah, I just want to say that in the past lifetime, I was Jewish, you know. I end my life as a Jewish. So as a reincarnation, as I think that some kind of evolution that I had to do as a Jewish just continue in this lifetime. I'm not a religious Jewish, but I am Jewish, and I was already attacked, anti-Judaism attacked from all kinds of people because I was reborn as a Jewish. This is funny.
Let me tell you what I'm going to do. I want to give out that website. You can also YouTube it. Go to drbrucegoldberg.com. Very interesting. drbrucegoldberg.com.